G'day, it's Kaz here from Everyday Property Investing with another property news update. Now, did you know in the last 5 months I've sold 4 properties of my own? And so this episode of Everyday Property Investing podcast, we're talking about selling houses and how to get the best results if you're selling a property. And chances are, if you invest in property, you will need to sell at some point. So we talk about everything from making that decision to sell, choosing an agent if you're going to use an agent, preparing your property, and pricing your property, and selling your property. So check out that episode. Now, cool tools. I came across something cool this week while I was investigating some property, and it's on domain.com.au. Plenty of people obviously have used domain.com.au, including me, and I hadn't seen this until now. So on the suburb profiles are some heat maps, and they have heat maps for median prices and capital growth. And I found these a really interesting thing to look at. So let's jump over and take a look at that now. Okay, so here we are in domain.com.au, and if I look for a location that I'm interested in, let's look for New Farm. And then if I can select any property in that area for New Farm and have a look at that property, so I might just choose this one here, for example. It's only $1.2 million. Over here next to the suburb, you'll see profile. If I click on profile, I get the suburb profile information. Now this is where the heat maps are. So you can see here already, I've got this nice heat map showing me median prices. And if I zoom out, I can start to see the patterns in the location and potentially undervalued pockets or areas that may benefit from a ripple effect. And you can do that for median house prices. You can also do it for units, and you can do it for capital growth for houses and units as well. Everyday Property Mastermind, it starts next Monday. I've still got a couple of spots left, so if you do want to join us on Mastermind, head over to everydaypropertymastermind.com and you'll see what the course is all about, and you can register there. I'd be very happy to see you there. Now I just want to talk to you about DHA, which is Defence Housing Australia. I had a question a couple of weeks ago asking me, is DHA a good investment? My answer to that is yes and no. There are pros and cons. So let's have a quick look at those. DHA, basically they set up a sales and leaseback scheme. So they sell properties to investors, and those investors lease back those properties to the Defence Forces so that they can house their staff. On the plus side, you get a guaranteed rent. So your tenants are looked after, they're screened, they're put in place by DHA, and you don't have to think or worry about any of that stuff. And whether or not there's a tenant in the property, you will be receiving your rent as planned according to your long-term lease. That's certainly a positive. The other thing is maintenance is taken care of as well, which is fantastic and saves you a lot of heartache or worry about what's going on at your property because it's all taken care of. In fact, even when they hand the properties back at the end of a lease, they'll refurb the properties, which is pretty cool. Now, that's the main 2 positives around that. On the con side of things, though, there's a few. You pay a pretty hefty price to have that property managed, looked after and maintained for you. It's around about the 16 to 17% mark. And the other thing is that these properties are usually negatively geared. I've not seen a positively geared one at all. And so if negative gearing is not for you, then DHA is probably not for you either. The other thing is the locations of these properties are limited to places where Defence Forces obviously want to house their staff. And so you may not get to choose your optimal location for investing. My advice to you with DHA, is it a good investment? Well, it can be if you're the sort of investor who's happy to have a negatively geared property, and also you're a bit of a passive investor, you don't want to have to worry about it, you know someone else is taking care of everything for you, then this could be a good thing for you. My advice though is to do your due diligence on the locations and on the property as you would for any other investment that you were going into. Don't just sort of take any old location that's given to you, because you obviously still, if you're negatively gearing a property, then you really want to make sure you're getting growth in return for that negative gearing. Because a tax benefit is pure by itself is not enough. You don't want to be, losing $1 to save 30 cents. Just doesn't make sense. So you want to be looking for capital growth locations if you're going to have negatively geared property. So DHA can be great if you're for a low stress investment, but just make sure you take note of those things. Well, that's it for news and tips this week. Thanks very much for listening. If you've got a question that you'd like answered, or if I can help you in any way, please get in contact with me, Kaz at everydaypropertyinvesting.com, and I'll do my best to help out. See you next week.